cosa para ti. Y sin negro no se duerme, viene el diablo blanco y ¡zas! Le come la patita, chica pumba, a pumba, chica pum. Duerma, duerma, negrito, que tu mamá está en el campo, negrito.
Welcome to Music the Unifying Force. This is episode 8, Musical Activism, from Woody Guthrie to Pussy Riot, part 2. Now we're going to explore some musical activism throughout the world. Yusuf, who did we just hear?
First, I am Yusuf Gandhi.
Yes, you are, and I'm not. I'm Janis Siegel.
And, this was Mercedes Sosa
Yes.
from Argentina.
Beautiful voice.
Yes, great voice, great song. She also wrote some songs,
Yeah.
but this song, actually, I think was written by Yapanki, Atualka Yakanti. I don't know the first name. I find it difficult to pronounce, but his last name is Yapanki, who was also an activist.
Yeah.
Okay, and this song, Duermo Negrita, was actually, it's a song, it's like a lullaby to a kid who's waiting for his mother. And his mother has not come because she works 2 or 3 jobs to support him, And so the person who's singing the lullaby to him is saying that, don't worry, your mom is going to buy food for you. She's going to buy fish for you and cook pork for you and all the beautiful things that you love. That's what she's going to buy, but she also has to work very hard so that she can do it. That's what this song is about. And the one of the problems, as you remember, in South America, especially in all those areas where you had very authoritarian regimes in those days, and they were not given proper rations, they were not given proper, food, and they had to really work hard for it. And that's why people like Mercedes Sosa, Yapanki in Argentina, and then when we'll go to the Chile and even Brazil, actually, there was a lot of protests around, and musicians were a very big part of it. The musicians, their music really, Mercedes Sosa was also exiled at one point. Yapanki was exiled at one time. So that's what it was. So this song is that. This song is basically about someone, telling the kid that, just, wait, your mom will be coming. She's working hard for you.
Unfortunately, the kid probably just wants his mom.
Yes.
Yeah, but I get that. It's that's beautiful. And then moving on to Chile, we have this whole idea of activism in music. We expanded on it in our last episode, but it gives a different power to a song when someone is singing about wrong, social injustice, racial discrimination, urban decay. It really does give a power to the song. And the people that do it are brave. They're very brave.
And especially in these regimes, where there is no holds barred. You do it, you're out, or you can get killed. And in Chile, it actually happened. Violeta Parra, again, an activist, she wrote some incredible songs,
And she painted, she wrote poetry,
Yeah, she wrote
she
poetry.
wove. She was a weaver.
Mhm. And she was like the influence to a lot of the other people. She was one of the influences, and Victor Hara, who's the other person we talked
Yeah.
about, always said that she was his influence.
I learned about both of those
Ye-
people from Claudia Acuna, who is a contemporary jazz singer who is Chilean and lives here in New York.
These two were, incredible, and they were all for Allende,
Right.
who was there. They campaigned for him, everything, and when he won and everything, and then of course, unfortunately, thanks to our American government with Nixon and Kissinger, they wanted Pinochet to come in,
Right.
and Allende was finally there was a coup and Pinochet took over, and then again they were back to authoritarianism. But so Violeta Parra is about this, that the president, the song that let's play the song first for Violeta
Are we
Parra.
playing Gracias a la Vida?
No, we're playing this song, which is because Gracias a la Vida is about, she talks about her life, how important it is for her. But what we are playing is Miren como sonríen, which is about the president.
Yes.
Okay. It's about, she's talking about how politicians, when they're campaigning, say all that they're doing, but once they're elected, they don't even care about the people. That's what the song is about. So Violeta Parra.
Cuando le hacen promesas al inocente, miren cómo le ofrecen al sindicato, este mundo y el otro los candidatos. Miren cómo redoblan los juramentos, pero después del voto doble tormento.
Beautiful. You know, it's ironic because her best known song was Gracias a la Vida, thanks to life, but she committed suicide.
Of course, in the Unify list, we will also have a version of Gracias a la Vida, but this version is sung by Mercedes Sosa and Joan Baez together. It's a duet. And we will also have another Violeta Parra song, which features Mercedes Sosa with 4 Brazilian superstars, Caetano Veloso, Chico Buarque, Gal Costa, and Milton Nascimento. And all 5 of them are together singing the song called Volver, which again, as I said, is written by Violeta Parra.
You know, and just want to say, as a musician, when I get comments from people, fans saying, basically, shut up and sing, it really
hurts.
It hurts, it's annoying, and it's wrong because musicians, I mean, I'm a citizen too. I have a family, I'm a mother. I'm concerned about my son's future, you know, in this world.
Yeah, and as we talked about it in the very first episode, the musicians are much more in tune with what the people want.
That's right.
Politicians are, and that's why they can speak out. And that's we just
and
spoke
that's
about
why the fascists are trying to control the music.
And that's why we spoke earlier about, though we didn't mention them, was the Dixie Chicks, when they said one thing, and then they did a documentary after that. They did a documentary called "Shut Up and Sing." You know, and it's
Shut Up and Sing. That's
was that documentary about their life, about what happened and everything.
I know many musicians that have gotten that comment.
Yes, and it's crazy because they just they have freedom of speech as well. The amount of sort of backlash they got death threats and everything just for saying one word, one line. But anyway, so we go back to what's happening in Chile, and then, as we talked about Allende and everything, and Pinochet takes over, Victor Jara, the song we're going to play is Manifesto, is one of his last songs he did about what he did. But Victor Jara goes to college to perform at college, and he's totally surrounded by the police because of this was like a protest rally, and they arrest everyone, about almost 5,000 people, and put them in a stadium. And Victor Jara goes there and sings this very song, I believe, Manifesto. That's what he sang. That's what is said in the books, that he sang this song. And he sang alone to all the people to, make them feel good. Let's sing. Music is the only thing that can happen. And so the police came, the soldiers or the police of Pinochet's people came and beat him. They broke his guitar. They beat him.
They tortured him.
Yeah, they tortured him, beat him till he was almost unconscious. And they shot him almost.
And then they threw his body in the street.
Yeah, they threw the body in the street. And there's a song called Victor Jara, which we will send you, which again put you in this, which is actually co-written by Arlo Guthrie, and he tells you the whole story about what happened in that song. And it's actually every time. Like, I've played it for anyone, there's never a dry eye once you play that song. because it's absolutely horrific, and we're not going to play it now. We're just going to play a little bit of Manifesto of Victor Jara's.
Yo no canto por cantar, ni por tener buena voz. Canto porque la guitarra tiene sentido y razón.
Angelic voice.
And this song actually has been inspired by Victor Jara, and I mean Violetta.
Yeah.
He mentions Violetta in the song itself. And the same thing, what we're talking about, we're seeing in Chile, we were watching in South Africa. It was exactly the same type of thing where the people could not sing. There were a lot of great musicians. And again, it was the musicians who stood up. Dorothy Masuka, she did what they called a jazz review. And all the young musicians, she was nurturing them to perform around the country. And she wrote a lot of songs. Among those musicians were Miriam Makeba and Hugh Masekela, and and the Mahotella Queens and the Dark City Sisters. There's a whole bunch of musicians who later on became big musicians in South Africa and were very much part of the movement. But of course, the two biggest artists from there were Miriam Makeba and Hugh Masekela, who were both exiled when they went on tour. They were told not to come back. And so they used that to sort of lobby for South African freedom.
Well, there was the editing of apartheid
Yes.
in South Africa, certainly. And they were some of the first artists I ever saw that dressed African, natural hair, very proud, trying to promote their identity,
The Pan-African identity, which was, the thing is, as we know, the whole subcontinent, African continent was carved out. Actually, it was a country. They always felt like Miriam Makeba was very much into that Pan-African thing, that we are one country, the whole of Africa. It's not, and they came in, all the Anglo-Saxons, you can call them, rather than only the British. The British, the Belgians, the French, Portugal,
the Germans.
Portuguese, all of them came in and almost carved up the country into this is your land, this is my land, sort of thing, And that's what happened. And so you'll have some very French-speaking parts of Africa. It was that's what happened. And both Hugh Masekela and Miriam Makeba were and both of them came here because of Harry Belafonte. He brought them here. He sponsored them to come here. The song we're going to play is called Soweto Blues. And Soweto Blues is about one of the most horrific things that happened in South Africa. After the song is heard, I'll tell you a little more about it. So can we play Soweto Blues?
The children got a letter from the master. It said no more Xhosa, Sotho, no more Zulu. Refusing to comply, their sentence. That's when the policeman came to the rescue. Children were flying, bullets dying.
So it was, she says, no more Xhosa, no more Zulu. What the whole thing was, that the South African government, Afrikaans, what they called it, they wanted to change the languages of all South Africa into
one.
No, they wanted to take out. They said they cannot learn Xhosa and Zulu languages, and they all have to speak Afrikaans, nothing else. The whole curriculum will be in Afrikaans, and that's what everyone. So the students revolted, and it started at the Soweto school, and then students from all over Africa came in. South Africa came in, and they all revolted. There were rallies. So that's when she's talking about the police. It was not really a rescue. They came in, started beating them and shooting them, and a lot of people died. A lot of kids were killed. So that's what this song is about. And if you see the movie, or if you had seen the play Sarafina, or you see the movie Sarafina, that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Sarafina is about this Soviet uprising of the students and how, and it's a great film. You should try and see it. It's got Whoopi Goldberg is in it. There's a lot of other artists, good actors in it. And the music is by Hugh Masekela, the whole music of the...
Didn't Miriam Makeba perform on the Ed Sullivan Show?
Oh, she must have. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, no, she did. You're right.
Yeah. Ed Sullivan was a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had everyone.
He had everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So that was what that was about. So the whole thing, and in Sarafina, we'll play a couple of the songs from Sarafina in the list. Okay, in this record.
Yes. And of course, everybody, I think, my age anyway, remembers Pata Pata.
Yes.
from Miriam Makeba.
As we talk about what was happening in South Africa, it is almost similarly what's happening in Iran, but for a different reason, It's because of the radical Islam, and they wanted the women to wear hijabs, and the hijabs are not, a lot of women have started revolting. And one thing about Iranian women, because I used to work in a hotel and where the Iran Air used to stay. That was my first job. So they would come, the Iran Air, it was at the Taj Mahal Hotel in Bombay, and they used to stay in the hotel, the Iran Air people, kids. So you could see that the women were so sophisticated who came. They had hijabs and everything, but they were very sophisticated women. And so they didn't want to, a lot of them who were educated and everything didn't want to, so they started removing the hijab. And there was a person, now this song that we're going to do is a person called Masa Amini, who was killed because she didn't wear a hijab, and she was taken to prison and beaten up or whatever, I'm not sure, but she was found dead in jail. And of course, there was a big uprising with the young people and the women and all that. And there were songs, a lot of women were really deliberately took out the hijab, and, even those who were wearing hijabs, in fact, many of them took out the hijabs and, revolted. And this person by the name of Sherwin Hajipur, he wrote this song called Beraye, which is something, Beraya means for or for the sake of, And it was like the whole lines, I think, he says, Beraya, this means for the sake of kids, for the sake of women, it's like for the sake of poverty, all that sort of what's happening in the country. And it was such a powerful song that they didn't want him to sing it, and he still sang it. So again, he was put in jail, and he is in jail now. Okay. And this is it's become the sort of anthem of the resistance movement, the song Beraye. And what we're going to play is Rana Mansour, who's actually an Iranian born in the United States, of Iranian origin, who speaks English. And she's been going around the world singing not only this, but other songs in English with Iranian songs written in Farsi. She tries to do that and perform around the world country. Plus there, of course, the Iranian people like Masa Vadat that we saw at City Winery. Yes. She is here, but she was also, because of the hijab and because of singers also, they were not even allowed to sing, women. So they were arrested for that too. So they were all sort of taken, prisoners, or they were exiled. She was like, as soon as, they filed a case of something, she managed to leave. She got some sort of a reprieve that she could leave the country. So she's left and come here. She and her sister both sing, and they're here in San Francisco. So we have that sort of whole situation happening. And this song, Beraye, is what we will, we'll listen to right now. It's Rana Mansour singing the English version of it.
For dancing in the alleys and the streets, for the thrill and the fear of getting caught kissing, for my sister, my brother, and unity, for all the times we tried to change their minds and stale beliefs, for the loss of pride, for poverty, for the dream of just a normal life for you and me.
Yeah, so it's a whole song, and he wrote the song, and Hajipur was arrested. He's arrested. He's still, and in fact, a lot of pop singers around the world sometimes have this song. If they're, in fact, I saw a video of Coldplay having a girl come up and sing the song in South Africa.
Wow.
Who was Iranian.
I worked with Iranian's jazz singer named Susan Daim in Bobby McFerrin's voice orchestra. So, and she would sing like Caravan in Farsi, but I'm sure she knows. I'm sure.
I'm sure they know.
She knows.
Because the Iranians know what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's like when Mahsa Wadat came here, all the Iranians knew who she was. And I remember I was in San Francisco, and she had come to see me in the hotel. We were in the breakfast, and a whole bunch of Iranians saw her. They came to speak to her, so they knew who she was. So I think they know all the people who've been resistance in the resistance movement.
So we're moving on to Russia,
Mm-hmm.
and a very what's the word? Provocative group called Pussy Riot. Pussy Riot. It's a Russian feminist protest and performance art group. Really, what they do is they stage these sort of guerrilla gigs
Yes.
in public places, and then they film them and they post them on the internet. But they're dangerous. I think they're dangerous. I don't think they're dangerous, but feminism, I think, is seen as dangerous and could destroy Russia. So, says the head of the Russian Orthodox Church. So, again, it's very similar to what's happening in Iran. It's just women saying, I've had enough of this.
For there, it's even the poor people. Everybody's had enough.
Yeah.
In a way.
Everybody's had
Not
enough.
part of the government.
Provocative. They are provocative. Pussy Riot. We do have something from them.
Будь смиренным, будь кротким, не заботься о тленном. Власти данной Богом, сынок, будь навеки верным. Я люблю Россию, я патриот. Живи просто святому подобно. Не ешь скоромное, потребляй скромно. И станешь на ноги скоро. Зампрокурора, прокурор, коммунистическая партия, дружба с олигархами. Я патриот, сам из Хабаровского края. И дела решать не в какой-то там вашей Европе выбираю.
I love them. I really
In
do.
fact, they came here a couple of times.
Yeah.
They've been incredible on interviews, very, very outspoken, and they're not scared at all.
Oh, no.
They're not scared at
Oh.
all. And so, as we go from Pussy Riot, we go to the
Sinead O'Connor, I think most everyone remembers the SNL performance where she ripped up the photo of the Pope. Yeah. But she did a lot more. She died really early too, 56, I think. But, and she had some hit records.
Oh, yes.
The cover, the Prince cover.
Prince actually wrote it for her.
And it's a great cover.
Yes.
No one compares to you.
Yes.
But she's drawn attention with her music to issues like child abuse,
Again,
women's rights, racism.
People afterwards realized, after they heard about the church abusing children,
Young boys. Yeah.
that what she was talking about when she tore up
She was talking about that.
about people being abused in church, and that's what she was talking about.
Yeah, the hypocrisy of it all.
Yes. Bob Dylan had his 30th anniversary concert at Madison Square Garden, and Sinead was performing. And this is just a week after what happened on SNL. So it was suddenly she came on, and I guess a lot of the Catholics who are devout Catholics started yelling and heckling her. And it was really sad to see she was singing, and then she was crying, and then Chris Christopherson came, put his arm around her, and took her out. But it was...
I think Frank Sinatra had something to say about her too.
Yeah, but I'm saying, she has a right, again, she has a right to say what she wants.
Absolutely.
And she was banned from SNL because of that.
I guess.
Yes, she was. She's one of the artists who was banned.
But I think she paved the way for a lot of artists.
Yes.
Like Cindy Lauper, maybe.
Yes.
Or
A lot of artists,
lot of-
interprets she paved the way for. And we have here the song called Famine.
Okay, I want to talk about Ireland. Specifically, I want to talk about the famine, about the fact that there never really was one. There was no famine. See, Irish people were only allowed to eat potatoes. All of the other food, meat, fish, vegetables, were shipped out of the country under armed guard to England while the Irish people starved. And then, in the middle of all this, they gave us money not to teach our children Irish. And so we lost our history.
She's rapping.
Yes. Mhm. She is.
She's rapping. Wow. Sinead O'Connor. Amazing.
Yeah, it's it's absolutely really amazing. In fact, but she had a beautiful voice anyway.
Yes,
She was
yeah.
incredible.
Well, she
Thank you.
killed that prince.
Yeah.
Sure. So this next artist is Chinese. Would you tell? I don't know anything about this
Well,
artist.
Chu Chan, I think that's how you pronounce it, is one of the first really rock artists in China
Mhm.
who spoke out against the government. There are lots of rock Chinese artists. There's another group from Mongolia called Hangai who are also activists. Chu Kan is one of these people who did it for some time. He was exiled. He had to go to Taiwan and he had to go to Hong Kong and all that, play there because he was. But he would come and do these sort of like underground concerts in China for people, and people come to know. And were times, I believe, that they used to, if the government found out, they would try and go there. And I think he was arrested a few times, but he didn't care. He just went and talked about for freedom, that we should have freedom. And he was a great musician, and that's why even when Rolling Stones went, they had him come up and play with them, perform with
great.
them. Yeah, and this song actually, which we're playing, called "No More Disguises," where he says that I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to come out and perform. And that's what the song is about.
我的泪水已不再是孤寂，我的微笑已不再是演戏，你的自由是属于天和地，你的勇气是属于你自己。
Interesting voice.
Yeah, he's very
Yeah.
raw voice on it.
Very raw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And so he is one of the heroes. Like musicians like him, are not many people can do that. And he was. I think he performed at Tiananmen Square too during the main that revolution. He was there and he performed there as well. So that was Chu Kan, and of course the last Fela Kuti.
Fela Kuti. Well, we go back to Africa for Fela Kuti, Nigeria, I believe. He was quite a unique figure. I mean, just antagonizing the government, his radical politics, and in fact, he started his own country, didn't he?
Yes.
Started his own republic.
And he didn't care actually about, again, he was one of those people but he was revered in Africa,
Yeah.
not only in.
Well, he was sort of a father of Afropop.
He was like, I know, because I worked with Hugh Masekela, and he revered Fela Kuti. He would always sing one of Fela Kuti's songs on his shows. And then, of course, they did the whole Broadway show.
I saw that.
Yeah,
it was great.
about his life.
It was great.
And now his son Seun Kuti is a very good musician as well.
Yeah.
Them go hold me to you, them go start to job human beings. Animal talk, don't start again. Dash them human rights. Them go hold me to you, them go start to job human beings. Animal talk, don't start again. Dash them human rights.
The whole Afropop
Yes.
thing is so brilliant, fusing West African music with jazz, really.
Jazz,
Funk.
hip hop.
And funk.
But they are basically, jazz is in their blood for all of them. It's not like for the African people.
Yeah.
And that's why, as I said, Dorothy Masuka, she wrote a lot of jazz-based compositions, and she was, these people talk about her all the time. Both Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela will always talk about Dorothy Masuka. They'll say this was written by. They'll sing a lot of her songs anyway in their repertoire. And then, of course, there are lots of other Africans, we couldn't touch on, like Papa Wemba and Angelique Kidjo.
Oh, Angelique Kidjo. Yeah.
Yes, and there's tons of the people from the Mali areas, people from Burkina Faso, all those areas, Burkina Faso, I mean, and they're all, and of course Cape Verde,
Well, yeah,
what we didn't even bring
we
that
did
part.
cover a little bit.
But
of that.
Cape Verde didn't have too much of, because the governments were always stable there. That's one of the things about Cape Verde. They were under the Portuguese, then they were stable. So their culture grew much more in a way. They could develop their culture much more than just being in the protesting. Though in South Africa, there was also Johnny Clegg, who was white, and so it's a whole. He was a white South African. There were a lot of white musicians. Like Hugh Masekela had a saxophone player called Maurice Goldberg, and he lives in here now. And he was, in fact, he would say that it was always a problem when he and Hugh would be walking together. Because you're not allowed to do that in South Africa. That during apartheid, two people could not. Even Trevor Noah said that he was born a criminal because it was a mixed marriage.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of artists refused to go to South Africa. The Manhattan Transfer being one of them.
And finally, after Mandela came in, and they all came back. In fact, he's the one who asked both Hugh Masekela and Miriam Makeba to come back. So that was happening in South Africa. And as we go to South Africa, we go back to the Caribbean, actually. And that's where we should end, maybe, with someone who basically almost encompasses all that is there in, in activism, and whose music transcends all cultures, and it's one of the most popular music forms, that is reggae. That's Bob Marley, and he always believed, he was very, very passionate about it. And the Rastafarians, they believed that Haile Selassie was the savior and prophet, and that's why they all the time talk about, this whole thing about the Exodus, that they feel that there'll be a time when all the Africans who are all over will come back to Africa. It is because that's their land in a way, and they were taken away. So there's nothing that encapsulates what he's saying than this song, Redemption Song, which talks about it. And I just want to tell people, when they listen to it, when he's saying I, they mean us. He's talking in what they call not Creole, but it's called I forgot the term for the language, but that's what it is. And
is it like a pidgin kind of
pidgin type of English, but it's mixed, because in the Caribbean there are a lot of French, but it's not French, but I mean they have a different type of language. I think it's called patois. In fact, when you listen to Linton Kwesi Johnson, you'll see he speaks perfect when he's talking, and so does Bob Marley here. He says I. Pirates. They took I to the, which means we, us all.
We, means us all.
So we should listen to that, and perhaps maybe we can end with that. Say,
yes. Well, he was a global ambassador for music and activism, certainly, and One Love.
Yeah, and he just brought a whole new music form, which was danceable, but yet had a lot of depth in it as far as lyrics are concerned.
Just a little fun fact. The Manhattan Transfer show, which was on CBS in 1975, we presented Bob Marley and the Wailers for their very first United States television appearance. We couldn't believe it. They were playing at the Roxy at the same time we were doing the show, and our manager got them to do two songs. They did Kinky Reggae and another tune.
And the first time, when they performed was at SOB's.
First time in the United States?
Yeah, they were playing at SOBs that time. SOBs was the only club they could play at.
I mean, for those of you that are not in New York, that's downtown West Village spot for world music. I mean, it's not big. It's not a. It's a club.
Original world music. That's where it started with everyone, with the Africans, with the Brazilians, with they all started there. So.
So here's Bob Marley.
And it's called the Redemption Song.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Number two, ourselves can free our mind. Whoa, have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop off the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We got to fulfill the book.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, that kind of wraps up music, the unifying force, musical activism throughout the world, from Woody Guthrie to Pussy Riot.
And, we could go on and on to talk about a lot,
go on and
and I just want to end with just talking about Sam Cooke, because we spoke about him and his song Change Is Gonna Come, which he basically was inspired by Bob Dylan after he heard Blowing in the Wind. That's what made him write the song. And it's now become almost...
it's like civil rights anthem.
It's one of his main songs today. It's on every sort of anything to do with African-American, changes, they sing that song. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. I'm Janis Siegel.
I'm Yusuf Gandhi.
We'll see you next time.